As you can see here, I'm going in the back of the scales after I bent the little tabs down and welding every little corner to get that one area strengthened up. Now, hopefully the whole sculpture is going to stand on its own, and the only way to get that is to weld both sides, the front, the part that you see, and this inner part that you're not going to see. Okay, back to welding on chips. Now, the thing is that they don't really fit because they've got a slight dome to them. So I have to put them in and follow the lines of the frame, the little 1/4 inch bar stock, you might call it, that makes a circle down below there. So I'm just visually following those lines, knowing that most of the tabs aren't going to be a part of it. And as you can see, the tabs, and these are a little bit bigger than the ones that just above it. And my intention is to make the small tabs for the really tight parts, and then get larger and larger tabs as we go. And I know this is a very tedious process, but it's a labor of love. And I'm having fun. You know, it's the boring in shop kind of fun, but as things grow, as usual with metalwork, it looks better and better and better. And so I don't mind putting the time in and making all the little chips and putting them in place. Okay, back to the pattern torch with the plasma head, and we're cutting out scales. And I do 4 of them, and then take them out of the water and give them a chance to drain a little bit. So, if you've been with me for a while, you know that the pattern torch, I bought it on Craigslist for $100, the entire torch. It took about a month to get it to work because somebody had cut the ground wire on that thing, and it wouldn't work. And the guy told me he had it for 30 years and it never worked. And it took, as I said, it took me about a month to figure it out. But this one little dinky ground wire had been severed. And from that moment on, it has worked like a dream. This is 60s technology, no computers, no nothing. It takes a little bit of, as you can see, a little more personal input than computers. But this thing only cost $100. Compared to $20,000 for the pattern No, the plasma tables that you see in most shops. Okay, spot welding on some more chips, continuing the process. Reality is, this is what I wanted to do when I was a young man, without the tools, without the shop. I wanted to be able to make large sculpture. So here I am, almost 50 years later, finally able to um, live my dream. So this is a pretty cool deal for me. Okay, time to put another fin on. And the first couple were a little messy. Now I've kind of got it down a little bit. I mean, it's still, because of the scales, the fins don't fit perfectly. But if I get a good inch weld in there, in 2 or 3 places, I feel pretty happy. There's a lot of welding a little bit and then standing back and looking at it, and then welding a little bit and standing in many different angles around it, just to make sure that all of the shapes are coming out the way I want. Sculpture is a three-dimensional process, so you have to look at it from many angles from a distance. Okay, more scales. Working my way down towards that hoop that's about 6 or 8 inches below where I've left, and that's where my pattern wants to lead me to. Because I'm doing all of this really close tacking work, my nozzle of my welder gets clogged up pretty often. I'd say maybe every 10 or 15 minutes I have to clean it out. Okay, this is a part of looking at it from different angles, trying to figure out if I'm going in the right direction or not. Oh, yeah, and drinking water. And petting the cat. Okay, well, you can see what I've done with previous layers. The tabs of the scales always stick out a little bit, and so I get the torch and I bend them in, and then I weld them to the other tab, and that gives me the strength not only of the two tabs being welded together, but it gives me a triangulation here, which makes it super strong. So we're going to come back in and do the same thing to all of these tabs, bend them all down, and then weld them up from the inside. First thing we got to do is make sure that everybody's strong enough to hang on to themselves, and it feels like they are. Yeah. All right, we'll get the torches over here and start working out. Okay, so we've got this in. Now it's about 3/4 of an inch away from this wall, and we need to pull the wall in order to get this. It's a little bit pooched out. So we're gonna get a clamp and drag the wall in and then weld the hell out of it. Let me go get the clamp. Okay, I had a smaller clamp, but I can't seem to find it right now, and this one will work just fine. So we'll go ahead and go with this. It's pulling it in, a little bit at a time. Almost there. Another 1/4 inch or so. There we are. Okay. So we'll come in and weld that junction there, and then start bringing down all our tabs. And this is Sunday, so it's a little quieter today, and so I get to talk. So we got just a little chip of steel here that'll spread the weight out and also take up some of the space in there. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Can you see it? I think you can. All right, let me get in there and get a quick weld on that. But that's not in the right position. Damn it. That's better. Yeah, that's got what we want. So in this case, we're welding a horizontal support bar going out to the surface of the dragon, and holding that corner or that part in by about 1/2 inch. Now, as we work our way down, we're going to add more of these support bars in order to hold the dragon as a unit, and also attach it to that center post, because that center post is how we're going to pick the dragon up at the end. All right, so now we come in and bend all our tabs down and then re-weld them. Here we're making a new follower for the pattern torch so that we can make larger scales. I'm working on welding a fender washer onto the design in order to be able to attach it to the pattern torch itself. And of course I put a little piece of scrap steel under it so that I wouldn't wreck the nice piece of sheeting I have. Okay, so we're at the pattern torch up above where the magnet is, and we're going to take off the old pattern and see how the new one works. Well, one downside of the pattern torch is there's a bunch of messing around that you got to do in order to get the thing to work properly. But then probably the big $20,000 computer-driven ones, you got to do a bunch of messing around in the computer. So it might be a even deal. Okay, well, I'm trying to cut this out and can't figure it out. It's not cutting. And I did 3 or 4 tries and took the head apart and put new inserts in, and it still wouldn't work. And then, of course, I happened to notice that the ground was disconnected. So once I connected the ground, it worked like a dream. Of course, not quite yet. We've got one more try, I believe. Yep, there it is. And here I'm going for a comparison to the old one, which was a little bit bigger, and I wanted it just a bit smaller. So I think we got what we're looking for. Now, once I've got the pattern that I want, and the reason why I did this whole thing at this point is because I was cutting out these sheets, and I didn't want to have too much waste. So I measured the sheets according to the chips that I was cutting out. So I bought this sheet from a local supplier, and all he had was 4 by 10 foot sheets. So it was pretty awkward. And so I spent probably an hour and a half this morning cutting down these sheets to usable sizes. Okay, one last one, and I think we've got ourselves a bunch of usable pieces to cut scales out.